Alrighty. This should have us back to the action. And we can move on to turn number 11. Alright, just gotta do a small test. I don't seem to have the music anymore. Where the heck did the music go? What the heck's going on with the music? Bum 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 bum. Okay, well, most things are working better, but I just don't know why music disappeared. Oh, there it is. Test, test, test. Yes, I was just testing that the chat box was working right. It wasn't working right before. So let's move on to turn 11. Can you hear the music? I'm not sure if I can hear the music. It's not critical. We can deal with music. No music. What happened to the music? I jumped to the away screen and then the music disappeared. Oh, maybe it has to be here. Did we have music before? We did have music before. No, it's the official Twitch music. Ah, here it is. No. It's the official Twitch allowable music. Now, I just opened turn 11, right? Okay, so lots more stuff happening. Ah, Micklin is coming close. Got these darn lizards. So that was good. Killed off a few more cata, but that's what they were for, is to be bait. I'm curious to see if that wasn't very many light bandars. Let's see if they actually did anything. I'm expecting that their sticks and stones didn't amount to a huge amount of anything, but oh, the sticks and stones are too loud. Definitely too loud. So I've got a little bit of very useful point buffing going on now. Now I've got some moss body. That's pretty helpful. Now over here, you can still hear me over the sticks and stones. Good, they just seemed a little loud to me. But what I hear isn't necessarily quite the same as what you hear. I try to keep them similar, but there's numerous places where I can play with my audio settings, so we work on what we can. That one went fine, but that was a light fight. And we're still chugging away steadily. This did not succeed. Now we got... Okay, so we cleared away the Triton troopers and one of the Triton guards. But that just wasn't enough. On the other hand, I think it was worthwhile to at least make the attempt. Oh, look at that. There's the problem. They got past. Yeah, they got past the line until the two killed the two commanders. Okay, well anyways, those are cheap enough to replace. So we'll go back and try that one again. But in the interim, here comes another set of Nagas coming down. And then we got a couple of Nagas stuck behind of the cheap Nagas. Pangaea's putting on some pressure. Some of the Dominion's battle sounds are loud, yeah. And some are not so bad. So I try to keep them fairly quiet. But I'm not at all sure what happened to the music. It's still playing for me, but it's not showing up for you guys. Well, you probably can survive without music. Alrighty, let's look over the other one. So Blue Water, we covered that. We had some Tritons get past the front line. Sarah Forest, nice and solid. That was an easy fight. very few archers, a few light infantry, and just some bare bones militia. And over here, battle in the wetlands. Yeah, we covered that. Oh, there's some crocodiles in there. Yes, sir. But that was, and 2 shaman, so that actually, yeah, that worked out really quite well. If you consider, because sometimes lizards are a challenge with 2 attacks and they hit hard. The stats are not amazing. You know, well, attack of 11. It's quite sufficient. But the moss body is a significant improvement. Definitely a significant improvement. Curse. Ah, so he's cursing a bunch of them. Oh well. Not much we can do about that. Okay, I think we learned what we want to learn there. And Zabalba's doing fine. Utgard's slowing down to only a single expansion. That was quite a few heavy cavalry. Yeah, 8 of them. And he did that very well with minimal cost. Probably, I'm guessing the crossbowman did a lot of the work. I imagine he probably set them, oh, he's got them up front and probably on fire. Oh, he's shooting the back row. Okay. And hopefully the Gamherdings get up there in time. He's going to lose a few crossbowmen to cavalry. Ah, those crossbowmen held their own quite well. Ah, 17 protection. Well, that's not too shabby. Yeah, that's the high resource crossbowman. Sweet. I'm kind of impressed. Those crossbowmen held up really well against heavy cavalry. Well, I've seen enough of that for my concerns. Now, let's have a look-see here. Okay, so Pangaea's just using crossbowmen. So he's putting the pressure on me. So I'm going to try to cut him off with this army, which is not a whole heck of a lot. If there's a bump, it could be a little rough. And this area through here with the mountains in the way. Ah, so Zib jumped over the top. That's a good call. That kind of defines some space. And then eventually he'll have that throne when he can get to it. I've cleared my cap circle. And I remember there was negotiations with Micklin over who's going to get what in this area. Without giving a spoiler, things change fairly soon and mess that up a little bit. And then the event. Oh, nice bit of gold. So what am I doing for recruitment? Boy, it's tough to remember back. So I've got my first Nagaraja. And where did I send him? I'm sending him to get into the water. Help lead troops down there a little more effectively. I'm buying another Nagaraja. Now, if I remember correctly, I waited until I had enough of the cap circle. I'm on a team with Zib and Utgard, that is correct. And hey, Dr. Quack, it's been a while. And we've got a goofy, silly bless. This is far from an optimal bless. But, so my team was significantly more experienced than the other 3 teams in this, quote, casual game. So one of the thoughts was we would take a bit of a handicap by not playing min-maxing, not being grognards and doing a hardcore bless. So we're sort of working with, and we wanted to sort of try out charge bodies. I mean, it's one of the few damaging blesses that is not incarnate. So you can take it and you notice this is turn 11. We don't have disciples out yet because it's imprisoned. So again, that's another handicap we took by not having some monsters out. Yeah, shock troops literally. Exactly. I get a kick out of how, if you watch this battle, you actually get the charged bodies firing off in the water, which I think is kind of funny. Pretty sure it does. Anyways, let's watch. Yeah, and you can see, definitely to boost up my expansion capability, I'm tossing out the moss body. Yeah, so that guy's stunned. So that was the result. Well, you know, if you had a huge pile of something as cheap sacreds, charged body would be quite amazing. But when you're trying to use it on honking high resource, high cost sacreds that are capital only, it's not really brilliant. Now, once I get some more forts up, then I can start looking at doing it with the cheap nagas. Oh yeah, 20 ghosts for just death jump? Yeah, that's dirt cheap. Oh, that's the ancestors, right? Ancestor ghosts? Yeah. Looks like I forgot to buy PD there. Oh well, we'll get to it. Yeah, you need to bless them, yeah. After you summon them, right? Because they're an in-game summon. Right. Well, they're not the only time that getting everything blessed is a pain in the butt. So we cleared this one. Your prophet kept doing divine bless. Big power play is Dakini blesses. Yes, that would have been a power play, especially with 2 blood nations, and Zabalb is a high blood nation. And we did get into the later in the game, and we'll get to there later on. I'm just wondering what else is important to comment on. I just worked my way through the messages. You got the turn saved? Cool. These are pretty clean. Pretty clean. Again, that was the one with the heavy cavalry. That one we watched and saw why that failed. Pan we watched. And this one, very straightforward. Minimal losses against the crocodile. So that one, yeah, we've seen everything I think there was to see. A nice clean assault by Zabalba. Okay, I think we can move on to 12. Because recruitment is, again, a few more negarages. Just being sure I have enough Brahmin around if I need them. Okay, let's go on to 12. So I'm good for about another 35 minutes, and then I think I'll call it done. That'll been a little over 2 hours of streaming with the break. And streaming is a little more work than just recording. Okay, so in turn 12, Zabalba. Alright, well, I think he wasn't expecting that. That was effectively a bump. Yeah. Oh no. Did he own that beforehand? No, that was a bump. So that can happen. It was worth the attempt, worth the effort. From memory, I believe we had quite a bit of Trampler. Did he trample? Possibly. Let's have a look. And it'd be worth watching. The Minotaurs can trample. Oh yeah. It's a good chunk of them. Plus he's also got the Dryads. Let's see what his bless is. What did Pan take as a bless? Oh, bare bones. So that's a scales build? Yeah. Oh, that's a bare bones bless for that team. Definitely a scales build. Okay, well, no, Zabalba didn't have much of a chance here at all. Definitely not much of a chance. Could be imprisoned. It's possible it's imprisoned, but boy, taking incarnate blesses on imprisoned, oof, that's a long time to get anything good out of it. We could probably have a glance at his scales and get a pretty good idea of it, but that is definitely a bare bones bless. Pan doesn't know, but he's got on his team, it's, let's just review here. His team is Arco and Caleb. So it probably scales. Yeah, probably scales. Alright, now next messages, let's see. There we go. Oh, I lost 4 Nagas on that one. Oh, but it's a moderate amount of crossbowmen, and chances are I didn't get the Moss Buddy up quite quick enough. Plus, that was a really small army. So, bless, some Moss Body. Ah! And I didn't get them all blessed. Okay. So she'll get off another Moss Body. And you know, my guess is the ones that die are the ones that didn't get the Moss Body. That's what I'm guessing here. These guys, yeah, so they've already taken some hits. Heavy infantry hit it and a crossbow hit it. It was the crossbow that hurt. So it's chip damage from the crossbows that's doing them in. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so broadswords are hitting, penetrating. Pretty straightforward. And then I think what finishes off those 4 Nagas will be crossbows. Okay, so that was a little costly on the attrition. But if I remember, like, we're looking at Dunster here, so that actually locks down... Ah, here comes Atlantis. So that locks down a reasonable location for a border. Then I'm going to bring these guys into the water. I'm pulling back the handful of light bandars, and what do we got? Just sitting at home. Not a whole heck of a lot. Not a whole heck of a lot. And I haven't... Did I start another fort? Yes. So I've got the second fort going up over here. Got a lab coming up. This isn't a bad spot for another fort, but I think if I remember correctly, I chose down over here for fort number 3. We'll see that coming up. Alright, White Lake. Very, very clean. Yeah, see. Sea Trolls look like a problem, but they have terrible stats. I mean, attack of 9, yeah. Plus a single attack with a range 0 weapon. The biggest threat is potentially this guy, but he's only a water 1. Yeah, they're just a big bag of hit points. I sometimes use them as a soak for damage, especially Astro. So I didn't get a lot of Moss Body up. Maybe I had these guys move forward a little too quick. But I mean, DPS for Nagas is not a problem. And what's the defense on those trolls? Pretty durable, 7. So they're not going to miss. Yeah, you could buff them, and they're decent as a line. See, and that one even got a stun on it. So no, not at all. Okay, so nice and clean. Let's see. Oh, Pan's trying that just crossbow expansion, and it didn't quite work out. Looks like that was a crossbow shot sniped on the commander. Yeah, you can totally use, if you're going Soul Vortex, trolls of any kind are a great option as communion batteries. Absolutely. But I was just more or less commenting on independent trolls are fairly crap. Oh, these are the this was the mercs. So he cleaned out those mercs, because there's the merc captain. Yeah, so I'm guessing, we watch here in a bit, there's going to be a stray crossbow or something kills that guy. That's my guess. Maybe not. You know, it looked like he should have won this. Something goes wrong. Yeah, there we go. Crossbow shot got the captain in the back. So that was that. Okay. Let's see. And last battle was me. Oh, my Brahmin got killed. Yeah, luck here on the commander. Absolutely a classic. And with no front line, then the crossbows are getting in the right place. Yeah, yeah. Exactly on the comment of, you know, there's always that risk. Well, I'm guessing we're probably going to see another one here that my Brahmin got a stray arrow. Now he's just there so that, my theory, I think, if I remember correctly, I wanted him to do the blast and she could do the moss body, the Nagini. Because that moss body is really helpful. And she did herself, and she got a third moss body. So she got 3 of 5 Nagas with the moss body. And Eagle Eyes and a bit of a buff. That's a pretty solid script. See, and even the light Bandars are holding up not too badly. I mean, they did their job. They soaked some damage and saved me Naga damage. Unexpected event. Oh, Hardwood Club. Well, that's pretty minimal for quite a while until I've got something I want to thug. So I have conquered a significant proportion of all of this, and now I have made the lines of communication with Utgard. Now he's held his own quite nicely. You can see it's kind of a weird bit of territory because he got pushed pretty hard. Of course, this river puts some constraints on things. And Arco sort of popped onto this mountain and then stopped. But Utgard has moved up here towards Atlantis quite effectively. So we've spotted Atlantis. Mictlan is the dangerous sandwich between... So Mictlan was quite keen to negotiate good terms with us. Here's a little bit of... Is that Betty? I believe that's Betty. Let me just check my flags. Yeah, so there's a little Betty. And Arco looks pretty isolated. Definitely looking kind of isolated. So we haven't pushed a lot of scouts out yet. I've pushed some. I got one there. It's an ally scout. And one thing we are negotiating is, hopefully, eventually, we'll get some Zabalban frog boys down here into this water so he can start putting up forts. Is the Hardwood Club useful? Nothing very good about it. I mean, you could toss it on somebody who's going to fight anyways because it's a magic weapon, but there's nothing here worth 5 nature gems at base price. Absolutely. Maybe. Okay. And then we can just check recruitment. I'm still going with Nagarajas. Look at me. I'm that Nagaraja king. And how's this fort doing? 2 more turns. Alright, let's go on to 13. Do I... Sorry guys, I had to pause briefly to deal with some... Did I just open? Oh. No, this should be 13. There we go. Okay, so I got a little more gold from Utgard, just because of my Magi is so expensive. Pan is still chewing away quite effectively, so that was here. So he's put the squeeze on me. So without picking a fight, I pretty much finished my southwestward expansion. So now I need to kind of grab some of this territory in the north. But at least diplomacy was satisfactory that I was able to, you know, work out some some comfortable situation. And of course, this is a significant amount of water terrain. And there's Atlantis is a potential threat for that. And it looks here like here he comes. So that's something I can look forward to, is having to deal with Atlantis in the water. And am I starting to do some searching? No. So searches, I've done a moderate amount of searching all the way along with the Naginis. No, just a tiny bit. This is the only place I've bothered searching so far. But that time will come very soon. Well, I think some of these things are legacy from Dominions 1 and Dominions 2. And that was probably a really good weapon back then. And then they throw in things like frostbands and swords of quickness and stuff. And yeah, a dirt cheap is a great way to rebalance that. Another way that could be rebalanced is just remove them. Remove useless things. And there is that. Yes, there is an element of they put things in just for theme rather than for any purpose related to. Oh, that was clean. Small losses, but nothing too significant. Yeah. And so, see, from a pure design perspective, I'd be highly tempted if I was Illwinter to trim this game of excess stuff. But that is to my taste, and my taste is becoming more minimalist as I get older. I've shrunk my life down to, getting rid of excess collectibles and stuff that there's that rule, if you haven't used it in 2 years, you should get rid of it. I don't like just junking it. I like to see it get reused, recycled, or sold, or something. But, balance as well as just trim. To my taste, stuff that doesn't actually serve a strategic purpose doesn't really need to be in a game, so you just pull it out. So that would be the case of much of the stuff in the forging lists, the items. And some units, some nations have units that don't really have a clear purpose. But, so it is, but I like to play games that are clean from a design perspective. Many of my most favorite games, although, I don't know. Then what can I say? I go play this crazy game. But Elysium is a good example of, it has a lot less excess stuff. So it's sort of a tighter design space. Is that making sense? Hopefully. I was a designer for a long time, but physical designer of heavy metal stuff for oil and gas. And even in that area, there's a tremendous number of engineers and designers that like to add things just for the sake of adding them. Well, take electronics nowadays. Every electronic out there adds more bells and whistles that may or may not have any effect on the game. Hey, hi Barquet. Thank you. I'm glad you found me. Trying to be a little more regular, and also, I got kind of re-inspired to stream. I'm trying an experiment today. This is a combo stream and YouTube, so I'm both streaming and recording. So I can put it up for a permanent on YouTube. Anyways, where are we? We're still trying to kind of do up turn 13. Oh, Mechlin attacked Zabalba. Now, man, this is a long time ago. I'm hoping that this was negotiated. I think it was. Yes, I believe this was negotiated between the two of them. Yeah, looks like that was negotiated, because that's minimal PD, well, 6 PD. And then another nice bit of expansion. So Zabalba's kind of carved out a space. Hopefully my memory is not quite perfect on this, but he had negotiated with Pangaea, so he's got a southern border settled, because he does want this one for Zavalba, and either Zavalba or myself want this one, but I'll grab it. And then I think, and Zavalba has not done any work to get into the water yet, but he had a rough early go. Those of you who were here for the early part, we talked about Zavalba did struggle with his early expansion. Unexpected. Oh, a fire sword. See, now that's a trinket that's not too shabby. If you need to make something from low construction that actually does, but look at the difference on the damage. Designed by committee, yeah, absolutely. There is that, although you can't say that Illwinter has designed by committee problems because there's just the two of them. But, you know, they also like to add extra content. And the fan base does love new nations. If it didn't, we wouldn't have the proliferation of nation mods and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, they also have a, how would I put it? There seems to be an overarching, for Illwinter, there's an overarching thematic or lore-based sort of play going on. So some of the stuff in the game is there because it fits with the story or the narrative built into the game, rather than it having any strategic purpose. And I'm not a huge guy for the lore stuff. Some of the other people are much more into it. I tend definitely to be towards, I play this game to win. I'm not quite as meticulous as I used to be, and I don't put all that extra time into testing and writing notes and doing spreadsheets. But then there's so many newer players that are gotten the Pretender. This is a funky one here, Barkai. So Utgard is the Pretender in the game, and I can't see the chassis just at the moment. I'm trying to remember, but we went imprisoned, so I could show you our bless, and it's a weird bless, but it's all not incarnate, and none of the disciples are out yet. None of the disciples are out yet because we went imprisoned, so they'll come out right around. Oh, well, this is not really a good example of a Patala game. I would never take this bless with Patala. Personally, most of the time if I do Patala, I take a rainbow, I go dormant, and I go a broad rainbow bless. I usually take all 8 paths and a little bit of each, at least 3. Pretty much always go Astral 5. And then grab whatever bless you can, because what you're looking for with Patala really is Thug Blessing, because you've got Nagaraja Thugs, you've got Nagini Thugs, and if you put some blood on your Pretender, or you can buy some blood slaves, eventually you have all the Lanka blood stuff. And then as far as Nagas, they are helped by a stats bless or a rainbow bless. But the primary advantage to Nagas is to use them in the water. They're just not that good on land. They're slow, got terrible encumbrance, they're cold-blooded, you know, just lots of reasons not to use them. But in the water, they've got poison resist, and this hypnotize works in the water, and then 2 solid attacks. And oddly enough, a lot of the critters in the water have poison damage, but don't have poison resist. So getting yourself into the water with Patala will help you grow quite a bit. Well, my guide, I don't know if you're aware of it, I suppose I can toss up a link. I mean, this is an old guide from a long time ago, and it's all about playing Patala and Bandar with blood magic, so taking advantage of the Lanka summons. Anyways, you can see in the preview, I wrote this guide. Here's the link. I wrote this guide originally for Dominions 3, and then I revamped it for 4, and I revamped it again for 5. Some people have disputes with it, but I think that the concept is still viable. And I list quite a few possible pretender ideas. Other people come up with other ones. But the core concept is getting yourself enough slaves to bootstrap into a blood economy before the game is too out of control. Let's see. So, is there anything else really with 13? I don't think so. I think we can go on to 14. Yeah, let's go on to 14. I mean, this is pretty basic expansion action. There's no wars yet. Diplomacy in this game was mostly quite pleasant. Very relatively gentle for us. But then it might have been that the other teams didn't really want to pick a fight with us because of our higher levels of experience. Wish I could remember my third teammate. I'll have to ask around before I go record the next set of turns. It's looking like we're probably only going to get to turn 15 in my planned 2 hours. Because then I'm going to need a break for lunch. And 2 hours this is a good go for me. So that's nice and clean. Again, let's take a look at where that was. So we've just about cleared all the water. But there we go. So here's Atlantis. See, an Utgard has come up this peninsula nicely, so there's a good line of communication between the two of us. And that's a substantial army. So I'm going to go and take this one. Try to do it a little bit on the cheap, but you can see I'm running double Naginis so I can get extra moss bodies. Just so I can do these all of these underwater expansions with sort of the minimal amount of troops, because I'm going to want these Nagini, and once they're freed up, they'll start searching. You can see I'm starting to search. And the Nature 2s are kind of optimal, because very quickly here I'm going to want to get an underwater lab going. And then let's look at research. See, I got my alteration 4 for body ethereal, and now I'm going for conjuration 5, and the target spell is Voice of Tiamat and large elementals. So those are the targets. Notice I grabbed Thaumaturgy 1. That's basically just to get the basics of communions available. And that's pretty much it. Okay, for other action, another bit of expansion for Zabalba. So Zabalba's sort of filling in his territory now. And hopefully, here he goes, he's starting to make much. So that's going to get him into the water. And hopefully he can get up here and take some of this water. No, I think I'm starting to make, yep, see I'm bringing some Nagas up here. So that I can also jump into that water and maybe cut off Mechlin. As far as the land, that was kind of negotiated and agreed upon. I believe I agreed that Mechlin could have this one in 174, and I would take this one in 183. Mechlin wanted the cave. Other stuff, blue water. Again, nice clean. Sneaking enemy, that's just and my second fort's up. It's not early on the forts, but it's not bad. Got the fort in the lab, and we're building yogis. And some crossbows, because these are fairly decent crossbows. I usually try to find, if you're going the independent crossbows, the lower protection ones. The high protection ones are useful, but you just can't get nearly as many. Okay. I think that's a satisfactory review. Utgard, he found a scout. And he's basically done everything he can except this. He's got another fort up. He's got another fort there, so he's doing fine. Got that nice juicy farm. Okay. I'm going to pop out and do 15. And that will be where I end this stream and recording. Oh, we found a magic site. Nice. One thing we didn't find so far, we haven't had any luck finding any free nature forts. And then I didn't try to take this one yet because it's got the Triton poison heavy Tritons. So we'll wait for some reinforcements for that. Solid fight here. So Atlantis came in with a bare minimum army. Did okay, but then I come in and smack him senseless. So that has defined the limits of the Agarth action. Oh, look at this. Veti is way up here. Sorry, Atlantis action. Veti is way up here by Atlantis. Huh. It's not interesting. Just check the teams again. Atlantis is the pretender, and his teammates are Flager. Oh, Veti is his teammate. Never mind. My bad. So we're still waiting for our disciples to come out. Should be soon, very, very soon. Roughly right around turn 18. There's a certain random element to that. I lost another Brahmin. They just are so vulnerable to simple little attacks. But that has locked down this nice farm. So we definitely want to hang on to that one. So we've got a mix of PD1 and PD6. People have probably heard me talk about before about, you know, the kind of typical targets for PD. And there's an excellent article on the wiki on that issue. And this is a little bit small. I decided I'm not going to try to take the Fishman. A few too many nets. Let's take the easy one with the Tritons. And then at least we can hire some independent Tritons to help us clear it. Bringing up some more reinforcements here. Doing a bit of searching. Okay. And, oh, look at that. Some trolls attacked Pan. Where was that? Oh, what a nuisance. I'm not going to try to poach on that. That would be uncool, because we have quite solid, clean diplomacy. And for next time, I'm going to see if I can find some of my teammates and see if they want to join in. It'd be kind of cool if my old teammates would come and participate in this. Alright. So any last questions before I wrap this up? I've kind of covered all the material I wanted to, and we've gotten to turn 15. So it's a good place to break. No final questions? Going once. Going twice. Scales. Yes. Let's have a look at the scales. Turmoil. Production. Heat. Some growth. Good growth. Luck and magic scales. So quite good scales, given that this is a moderate blast. But we did go imprisoned. Turmoil luck is always hilarious. The other thing you weren't here for is the discussion of the guy who started this game had not played Disciples before, so didn't realize it's quite critical to put on clustered starts. So that does cost some of the teams quite badly. I talked about in the first few turns, one of my targets was to push really hard through this lake to get connection up with Utgard, my teammate. And so these are, you know, livable scales, and I think this is, what's this? It's one of the Pymus maps. So let me just jump to the workshop, see if I can find this one. I'm trying to remember the name. And let's try Pymus. It has that look. I think this is, yes, this is Edwin. So here's the link. I'll give you the workshop link. Utgard did quite well. He expanded quite efficiently with just... Does Edwin come with the install? Maybe it does. Because Pymus did get, he was well known by Illwinter during the... I mean, he's on the beta, I think. However, we haven't seen him in quite a while. And even on my Steam, I think on my Steam friends list, he shows as has not logged in quite a while. Yeah, I show that he hasn't logged in 3 years. Okay. But that's what this map, Edwin. Primus maps are very pretty and quite interesting to play on because of the terrain challenges. They're not symmetrically balanced as maps goes. You know, a lot of people, especially in the tournament, are playing Map Nuke because it's just inherently symmetrically balanced. That doesn't necessarily make for the best multiplayer game, but it works. Alrighty. Well, following my personal policy of incremental improvement, I've added a few new capabilities today. Record and stream. Hopefully my multi-track recording was successful. And you can look forward that these will go up as 2 parts onto YouTube in the next few days. I'll open up my editor and add a pretty title block, and I'm going to put a nice soundtrack in it. Alright. Thanks everybody for coming by. Yes, Utgard is too cold, and we very deliberately oh, yeah, how the heck did we get so... Well, it's summer. So you're right. We must have gone cold 1 or cold 2. I don't have access to the Pretender to open it up. So you're right. Let's see. Hang on a second. I know what I can do. Well, I'll do this maybe next episode. I'll see about rebuilding this Pretender because it's not available for me to look up. And we'll go from there. Yeah. Alrighty. Definitely time for a break for me, so enjoy yourselves. Have a good day. Yeah. Keep your eyes peeled. I'll be around. And if you need to find me, Discord, Steam, so on and so forth. Have a good day, guys.